bring in for analysis William Lawrence, professor at George Washington University and a former US diplomat. Mr. Lawrence, thank you very much for joining us. Tunisia then has suffered attacks at the Bardo Museum, at the resort of Sousse, and now this. Clearly a situation that merits the state of emergency.
Absolutely. And as your setup piece said, the state of emergency had just lifted. Don't forget, there have been attacks in the Shambi Mountains, a recent beheading of a shepherd, a foiled plot a few weeks ago. So this is a constant problem for the Tunisian government.
Is this a problem that the Tunisian government is capable of addressing?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that, they have a certain capacity for counterterrorism, which is better than a lot of other countries in Africa, for example, and they have a skill set that's up to the task. But these terrorist attacks, they can happen in any country. We just saw, for example, in France, ISIS has attacked 14 countries in the last 3 months and victims of over 30 nationalities. This is a worldwide campaign. If it is IS, of course, we've seen claims on Twitter that it was them. It could have been another group. Some of the Al-Qaeda affiliated groups have been more likely to hit police. But whatever it is, we have increasing frequency of attacks, and every government has to become more vigilant.
Indeed. Tunisians that I've spoken to have been very critical of the government, and this can be misleading, can't it? Because it depends who you speak to and what their agenda is. But the common message is coming back is the government isn't spending money where it should spend money, isn't vigilant, and isn't taking the action that they think the government should take. What would you say about that?
Well, there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle. Let me focus on two of them. First of all, there's an economic crisis in Tunisia right now. Tunisia is borrowing money from the IMF just to meet payroll of the Tunisian government. So for the Tunisian government to make any new initiatives, for example, in the area of security sector reform and beefing up security, they have to take it away from another area of government expenditure that is starved. Tunisia has an economic crisis. Secondarily, I would also say that Tunisia needs massive security sector reform, as the recent crisis group report laid out, the opening line saying that basically the security forces are in shambles. And there's a certain resistance in the security force to reform. There's concerns about backlash against the police dating back to pre-revolutionary days, human rights violations. And so the police unions, security force unions have been resistant to change. And so there needs to be a concerted effort by the international community assisting Tunisia in security sector reform and the Tunisian government itself to find a way to deal with the police and the security forces in an acceptable way that moves Tunisia policing forward.
This sounds like, as you pointed out, a very complex situation. William Lawrence, thank you, sir, very much indeed. William Lawrence, professor at George Washington University and a former US diplomat. Thank you for joining us.